Hello everyone, for those of you new to my channel, welcome to Life's Unfair, my Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous playthrough series on unfair difficulty. I upload several times per week and massively appreciate it when you hit the like button, comment on my videos, or subscribe to my channel. To those of you tuning in after the last episode, welcome back and thank you for all the support you've shown me so far. When we last left off, I'd gotten my feet wet in the Grey Garrison and taken down the Queen of Swarms, Jesslyn. We're going to pick up right after that and head on through the library and on to bigger, better, and harder things, which will lead us right onto Minagho's doorstep, who's the final boss of the whole act. Let's jump right into the action. No episode would be complete without the obligatory pain sequence, or several obligatory pain sequences. Which is basically me speeding through my failed attempts. Because failed attempts are useful learning experiences. They don't make for the most riveting content, but they can provide some insights into the process that I went through to learn the encounter. So here we are in my successful attempt in the library. So as I mentioned before, this encounter is particularly painful because there is a summoner off to the left there. You can't see him, but he's off in that room over there. And he just summons dogs back to back to back to back. Dogs, lizards, all those things he casts in Biz. And if you don't take care of him, you just get swarmed. So what we're doing right now is crowd controlling the guys in the main room while trying to, get them down as quickly as possible. And then move on to the summoner in the back, the conjurer, I should say. This encounter it's not fun, I can say. None of the encounters are, they're fun, but it's not easy, I should say. Because there are a bunch of ranged dudes that are shooting at you, so even if you CC them, even if you successfully CC all of them, if it's not a crowd control that actually disables them, the ranged guys, the archers, are just going to stand in the back and shoot. And that's one of the problems that I was running into here. They were not focusing Razor Fiend, they were not focusing my tank, they were focusing my backline. So I had to, constantly pause, constantly reposition my backline in such a way that the ranged enemies were forced to target Razor Fiend instead.
This is not my time yet.
But you can see where this is going, right? The CC's down, they're mostly focusing Razor Fiend. You can see dogs and various other animals coming out of that room after being summoned by the conjurer back there. And now we finally got most of the guys in this room down, and it's time to focus on him. So we're gonna speed through the rest of this encounter here because the initial setup is the most important part, and now it's just the easy part, or so to speak. You can see, right, there are still a bunch of guys alive here, but it's mostly stabilized. And as with the previous encounters against humanoids, cultists, things like that, Cambion, all those types of guys, the sickening fog thing makes a huge difference because sicken affects those guys, basically keeps them disabled for the entire encounter. It does affect your own people, but I only have one person in melee, so it isn't too big of a concern there. So after taking those guys down, we do proceed to the next set of encounters. There are 5 encounters here that are particularly rough. So there's a set of 2 Babau that are patrolling the hallways here, and then there's a bunch of enemies in the room right directly in front of that, a bunch of Brimoraks, and then if you go to the right, there's a bunch of zombies, and then if you go to the top right, there's another set of demons and cultists over there. So what I decided to do here is to take out the Babaus first, and I couldn't kill them. I couldn't straight up kill them. Babaus are ridiculously painful, even one Babau, and I don't want to rebuff and all that stuff, so what I decided to do is to cheese it. So you can see over here there is a mobility check that gets you over a chasm that is uncrossable. Oh, and here's another magic essence in this chest right here, super important, make sure you collect it. Try and get all 6 of them before you move on to Act 2, because they become inaccessible after you've completed Act 1. So here you can see, so the Babau patrol the hallway. It's a U-shaped corridor, and I had let them pass by my door before running up here. So now they should patrol to the end of the hall and then come on back this way. And so how I'm going to pull them is I'm going to do this. I'm going to summon skeletons, and I'm going to cast Entangle out there. So Entangle's a great spell. It just pulls everything in the area that it hits. And you can see the Babau are right outside the doorway. And after they kill the 2 skeletal warriors, or 3 skeletal champions, they do come by the doorway here. And they just stand there. Make it extremely easy for me to just take pot shots at them, and yeah, that's it. I'm going to speed through the rest of it because it is just me shooting at fish in a barrel, but you get the idea. So they go down fairly quick. Well, no, actually not fairly quickly at all. They take a long time, and you can see why I didn't want to tank and spank them, because I would have had to be tanking this whole time while all this was going on and doing all this damage. I would have to also worry about staying alive on my main tank, and it's tough. They hit way too hard. They hit way too often. Even with displacement, it's a very, 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 very tough encounter. So why not remove the RNG element from it if you can? So after taking them down, I decide that I'm going to take down this set of demons over here that are hiding in this room up here, and it does involve cheese again here, because there is another exploit you can do here. So if you open up the door here on your right, the one that you see directly to my right, it pulls not only the guys on the right there, but it does pull the demons in the upper room as well, and you can actually use that to your advantage here. So what I do is I move my entire party out of the way, but I don't move them across this time, because then obviously I can't pull those demons, but I do position them over here in preparation for them to be able to cross over. And then I take Woljif, who is my highest stealth character, and I move him in stealth over here, and you can see what I do. So I open up that door, and then these demons all run out, but they don't spot Woljif. So they're all in the hallway now, and they're staggered as well, right? You can see the big demons, the big Minotaur demons, are not with those guys. They are still part of the pack, and they will still come if you pull that pack, but they are not right there. So it gives me a huge advantage there. So then save the game, and it does take a few attempts to get all this down. It's again another tank and spank, opening in stealth. Everything here hurts a lot. But we are actually able to do it relatively quickly. And when I say relatively quickly, so I do end up having to rest again here. I was trying not to rest. My goal was to not rest until we had to fight the Brimorak encounter, and you will see why there. Because that was, I think that's probably the worst encounter in this whole place, short of Minagho herself. The Brimoraks are the worst. Arguably, potentially worse, but I'll leave that to you guys to decide. So this is the successful attempt here. Pretty straightforward, right? Just drop in my usual CCs, grease, things like that really help make a big difference. Cast in web to keep the melee guys, those Minotaurs back if I can. Keeping the Cambions back, and as with any unfair encounter, this does involve a lot of luck. If too many hits land on Razorfiend, or Razorfiend does not land enough hits himself, or my party just misses repeatedly, or not enough people fall down in grease, or an extra pack gets pulled or something like that, or they get an attack of opportunity, or they decide to completely ignore my tank and go beat on my backline. Right, any of those things can essentially end the attempt completely. But there, as usual, there are things that you can do to increase your chances. Crowd control, one of them. Summoning undead skeletons is another one, because that takes a lot of the focus off your main tank. Forcing the enemy ranged units to become melee units by walking into melee. Right, if you walk into melee, they pull out a sword and start attacking. You can see that guy right there, right? He was shooting at me until I walked up to him, then he switched to his sword and started walking towards me. So after that encounter, there's the encounter over here in this room. That was a misinput right there. We actually pulled the guys, and Razor Fiend was stuck out of the doorway, so they all just ran right by him, completely annihilated the back line, and I was forced to reload. But these guys in here are pretty easy. Just a bunch of really slow-moving zombies, don't have a lot of health, and yeah, they go down pretty quick. As you can see here, the only ones to worry about are these ghoul stalkers. The actual crusaders are super easy, but the ghoul stalkers are a bit more challenging to take down. But there are a lot of them, but they do go down very, 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 very quickly, even on unfair. And you can see here, spells make a huge difference, right? Ember is such a useful character here. Nenyo's Fireball is amazing too. Just be aware that it does splash and can easily. So if you have a bunch of your guys standing in the middle of that circle, or even on the edge of that circle, it'll splash to them and kill them. So you can see one ghoul stalker decided to walk by the blockade and go for the back line, but you know, he was alone. He was the only one that made it through, and he did not survive for very long after that. So following that, right, we actually failed this lore check, DC 28, many times. So I do reload a couple of times here, just to make sure I get the lore check. It's nothing too crazy, but I don't like missing free EXP and free lore. It's just doing that again and again and again and again. Technically, it should have been around a 50% chance, but I just failed repeatedly.
Staunton lies on the floor, wounded, and glaring at Minagho with loathing as she leans over him, struggling to speak. Through his cut lips, a dwarf rasps, "Why did you drag me here, you wench? To mock me one last time?" What is he doing? Is he doing sit-ups? Damn, bro! This dude's sit-ups. He's like 200 miles an hour. Go on, finish me. Drink my blood, devour my soul, and just get on with it. Let me die at last. Staunton, the light of my life, don't be silly. I could never hurt you. The lily food caresses his face, and the soft glow of a healing spell closes wounds. I brought you away from the battle to save you. My love, you don't belong in this grubby city where everyone hates you. Come away with me. You know I've always loved you. What? What? Has she actually fallen for this dude? But you lying filth. You have the gall to say that to my face when it was you. It was all you. You're the reason I lost everything. You're the reason why everyone despises me. So it was me who brought shame upon you in front of the people you called friends. It was me who mocked you year after year, spat on you, forced you to do dirty, demeaning work like you were a drudge and not the bravest of knights. No, it was all them, the Crusaders and their witless queen. If you remember, the day Brazen fell, I asked you to be its new ruler. You refused, of course, you and your principles, but look what's become of you. They talk about love. But they are really talking about a terrible disaster, like an earthquake or a hurricane or a shipwreck. My offer still stands. Come away with me, my love. You will rule Brazen as a king, and I will be your queen. What are you hoping for, demon? Staunton is loyal to the Crusader cause. Oh, he stopped his sit-ups. Those were sit-ups. Look at him, he's on his back. Those were sit-ups. He was really trying to fight the corruption. The demon and the traitor, you both deserve to die. You'll make a great couple, the eyeless queen and the brainless king. I like that. Damn it, I need to play chaotic after this. Don't listen to her, Staunton. She lied to you before and she's lying to you now. There's no bigger lie in all Galarian than your beloved crusades. Its century-old delusion encouraged by your disgraced queen. The only thing that is true is my love for you, my darling. Is she talking to me? Alright, let's get busy. Staunton gets to his feet and looks at the eyeless Lumithu with a strange expression on his face. A mountain would sooner weep than this grim dwarf, but tears now well in his eyes. Dearest, it's all right. I'm here. We'll never be parted again. Let's go. Come. What? Get back. Grasping his weapon, Staunton slashed at Minagho's eyeless. That was not her face. Her face is up here, brah. Her face is up here. It's not down here. With surprising agility for one of his stature, flees up the stairs. Curses, the Lilith runs a hand over her face, staining her delicate fingers with blood. Stubborn as a mule. Never mind, my pet. Never mind, you won't get far. You will kiss this scratch and beg for forgiveness. You'll be mine, holy... Damn, she is... simping over Staunton Vane here. I'm confused AF. If we're being completely honest here, why didn't he run towards me? Bruh, I mean, I can maybe help you here? Why are you running towards, further into the maze, bruh? Like, she's alone. We could have literally killed her here if you would come. Well, no, she would have kicked my ass, but we could have made a go of it. So another speed sequence here, just speeding through the worst encounter in the whole Grey Garrison. I think by far. It doesn't have, I think this is worse than the boss just because it doesn't have the same payoff as taking down the boss, right? It's just an extra encounter, completely optional. There's no real reason you have to do this, unless you just want completion and more EXP. And I do, so I put myself through it. But it is absolutely abhorrent. It's terrible, it's horrible. There are not enough adjectives to describe how bad this encounter is. And I couldn't really find any ways of making it any easier, any ways of cheesing it, any way to like take out one or two of them and then go back and take out the rest of them. It was just, I had to do the whole thing. It was, got to do it all in one take. You only have one take, and that one take is brutal. So how it works is there are 2 Brimoraks in there, a bunch of ranged dudes, some shears as well that do massive melee damage. And so I was trying initially to pull these guys out, but that doesn't work. Because they don't, they kill Razor Fiend. By the time they make it to the doorway, I'm dead. So you definitely want, so here you can see I'm switching around my gear, giving Razor Fiend as much fire in protection as I can. And one thing that I do figure out is that you have to bait out the fireballs. They cast a limited number of them, and if you wait until they reach the door, and they haven't cast any fireballs by then, they will walk up to the door and they'll just murder the entire party. They'll ignore Razor Fiend and they'll just fire fireballs into the group that you have back there. So you can either keep everyone split apart or you can bait out the fireballs. So what I did was bait them out. So cast Fire Resist on Razor Fiend, and Woljif also has great Fire Resist. So I put Woljif and Razor Fiend together by the door, and that just baited all the fireballs out. So they fired a bunch of fireballs at Razor Fiend and Woljif, and that took them out. But that it wasn't working. That was not working. So my next idea was to just go into the room, attack these guys directly, and that actually proved to be the key to the whole encounter. And the reason for that is these guys do splash damage, and they don't care who they hit. They will destroy all their allies with their fireballs, and there are 2 of them. So what I end up doing is just charging into one of the Brimoraks and walking up to the shear or walking up to the Cambion that are in the back and just having the 2 Brimoraks just throw fireballs at Razor Fiend, which actually don't do that much damage to him because his tanking ability, his
resists are pretty damn good. So he was able to resist the fireballs, but the shear and the cambion are not able to resist them. So the key to this was getting as many of those guys to die, as much friendly fire from the Brimoraks as possible, and then the rest is down to luck, right? So you gotta be very careful with aggro management here, because even if they fire a bunch of the fireballs at Razorfiend and take out a bunch of their allies, when your guys walk into the room, they will start spitting. They have a flame breath attack. If your guys are all grouped up too closely together, they'll just cast flame breath and take out all the rest of your guys. So here you can see my successful attempt, right? Have all my buffs on. I'm charging straight at this cultist over here, at the Discari cultist, and then I move even further in to the other cultist here. And you can see, right, the Brimoraks are just casting spells on Razorfiend but I almost died there, right? So one of the spells does a massive amount of damage to me, and at this point I'm like, okay, this encounter is over, I'm screwed. I'm trying to heal myself. But we're able to take out the shear, right? So now we're down to just 2 Brimoraks. They can't really damage each other with the fire spells, unfortunately. They're basically immune to fire. So 2 Brimoraks and the cultist over there that's firing at me, and that's it. So if we can take them out, we win. Gonna speed through a bit of this here, because it's just once you've got the initial setup, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's just surviving the ass kicking that these Brimoraks can do to you, and surviving the cultist archer in the back there, who's also trying to kick your ass. So thankfully, now that everything else is down, I'm able to run in there with Ember, start healing. I'm able to cast magic missiles on these Brimoraks. But yeah, let's speed through this next section. So yeah, just more of the same, just keeping Razorfiend alive with Ember. She's able to cast Greater Heal and keep him alive, and then Razorfiend is able to tank with that heal, keeping him up. And unfortunately, Ember got a little bit too close, and the Brimoraks decided to cast their Flame Breath and took her down in one hit. Thankfully, she didn't die, or I would have had to restart this whole thing. But we do take out the cultist, because the damage that he does is pretty huge. So it's important. One thing that I would advise that you do here that I didn't do is actually run someone into the cultist melee range, just to trigger his transition from range to melee. That makes it a bit easier. Or just focus him down while Razorfiend's tanking, or your tank is tanking the 2 Brimoraks. So after that, we head on over here and run into this nasty piece of work that you're about to see here. Which obviously, yeah, as you can guess, this, anyone want to take a bet on how this goes? Okay, well, there, you have your answer, damn it. I hope you got your bets in. It hit me for 126 damage, literally one-shotted Razorfiend. I was, wasn't in the best state, wasn't buffed, I was fully encumbered, everything. So I'm like, okay, let's try this again. Surely that was a fluke. Let's drop everything, and let's, I haven't buffed up yet, and I just drop everything unencumbered, try it again, get slaughtered, and then I'm like, okay, well, now we have to rest, we got a buff, and let's try it with some buffs. So you can see here I'm buffing, resting repeatedly. I'm trying to get the perfect rest. That is, I don't want corruption to actually affect me. And I actually end up having to reload here because I leave all the gear up here and then run back down, and then it disappears. So make sure that when you come up here, you don't go back down if you drop the gear up here. So I tried there again, and now that was me fully buffed, everything possible, right? You saw, look at that, look at all those buffs. Shield of Faith, Full Plate, Heavy Shield, Bark Skin, right? But then he cast Smite Good on me, and, that Smite gives him a +7 to his attack roll, and all that. He rolled a 34. I would have died either way. But yeah. It's nasty. So here I'm trying different things, right? Trying summons, trying CC, trying basically everything I can to kill him. But it's not working. It's not working. Absolutely nothing I do to this guy is working. So in the end, I opt for the old cheese strat, and that is Slumber. It worked against Rock, it worked against the Cambion Alchemist, and it works against this guy, thankfully. He does have a high chance to resist it, so you can see here just multiple failed attempts, thankfully, right? He's alone, so, and he's not at the end of any gauntlet or anything, so it's just like try, fail, load, try, fail, load, try, fail, load, try, fail, load, and then try, fail, try and do a coup de grace. If that fails, then obviously, right, that failed right there, then load. So it's just rinse and repeat over and over and over until you get this to happen, right? Until you get a slumber, good slumber, and then you move Razor Fiend up there, or whoever has a good amount of attack and crit stats, and then hope for the best. Taking it slow for dramatic effect here. Razor Fiend's creeping up on this dude. I'm like, okay, should I maybe smite him for some added drama here? But it's like, nah, whatever. Let's just go for it. And then we get this very satisfying explosion of gore here, right? He literally blows to pieces. All that's left is a large rib cage. You can see me panning around for dramatic camera angles there. But yeah, that's it basically. Thank you all for joining me today. Today, another pretty short episode. Tomorrow we're going to be jumping right into the Minagho fight and then into the Act 2 transition. So I'll see you tomorrow.